Hello everyone, the topic of today's discussion is abscesses of periodontium. Abscesses is localized collection of pus within tissue. Now, according to the 1999 International Workshop for Classification of Periodontal Disease, abscesses of periodontium are divided into three types: gingival, periodontal and pericoronal. Now, as you can see, gingival abscess is confined within the gingival margin or the interdental papilla, whereas the periodontal abscess is the localized collection of purulent inflammation within the supporting periodontal tissue. And the last is pericoronal abscess, which is the collection of pus in the pericoronal flap.
This is the clinical appearance of all the three abscesses.
First, we'll be discussing a periodontal abscess, also known as lateral or parietal abscess. Periodontal abscess is a localized purulent inflammation in the periodontal tissue. Now, depending upon the location, it is classified as periodontal abscess in the supporting periodontal tissue along the lateral aspect of the root, or periodontal abscess in the soft tissue wall of a deep periodontal pocket. Second classification is according to the onset or course of the lesion. It is divided as acute periodontal abscess or chronic periodontal abscess. Now, as we all know, in acute lesion, the pain is very severe. So, the nature of pain is throbbing, radiating kind, and there could be sensitivity to percussion, tooth mobility, or in some cases, systemic symptoms can also be appreciated like fever, malaise, lymphadenopathy, etc. The appearance of your acute lesion is bright red, ovoid elevation of gingiva, which could be firm or it could be pointed and soft. Coming to the chronic periodontal abscess, as we all know, in chronic lesion, there is absolutely no pain or very dull, gnawing type of pain which is seen. And the pathognomic feature of a chronic abscess is that of a sinus formation. Now, the acute abscess can sometimes itself on its own get converted to a chronic abscess, or a chronic abscess can begin as a chronic abscess without any acute phase, or a chronic abscess can have an acute exacerbation. So there is an interplay of this chronic and acute phase in case of a periodontal abscess.
The clinical appearance of acute and chronic abscess, as you can see, in acute there is a bright red ovoid swelling, and in chronic you can see the sinus opening.
The third classification is according to the number of abscess. They divided into single periodontal abscess and multiple periodontal abscesses. Single periodontal abscess is seen because of local factors, whereas multiple periodontal abscesses is seen in patients with diabetes mellitus or in medically compromised patients. Next is the etiology. Periodontal abscess can be related to a pre-existing inflammation of periodontium, that is periodontitis, and that is why they are classified into two types: periodontitis related abscess and non-periodontitis related abscess. There are 6 etiological factors for periodontitis related abscess. The first one is a tortuous pocket, okay, in which one part of the pocket becomes isolated and separated from the origin of your pocket, and therefore there is entrapment of your purulent suppuration, and which leads to abscess formation. Like in this case, this furcation area, if become isolated and is not in continuation with your gingival margin, will lead to abscess in the furcation area. Next is when your gingival margin is closed for some reason and it allows the suppurative matter to remain in the pocket, which extends the inflammation within the soft tissue wall of the pocket, causing an abscess formation. The third cause is an acute exacerbation of a chronic lesion. This can take place in an untreated periodontitis case, during periodontitis treatment, or during maintenance phase, or in case of refractory periodontitis, in which the degeneration of your tissue is overpowering the proliferative change within the tissue. Fourth is a change in composition of your microorganism or increase in the virulence factor of the organism, or in case if you have impaired host immune response, during which an abscess formation can take place in a periodontal pocket. Fifth is because of administration of systemic antibiotics without the treatment of your chronic periodontitis by scaling and root planing. This allows the tissue to somehow heal in the marginal area, allowing the entrapment of the pus in the adjacent soft tissue wall. And last is the partial removal of your calculus. So some calculus remains in the deeper part of the pocket, which acts as a nidus or source of bacteria. Also, sometimes during scaling, some of the calculus particles are impinged within the tissue. This also could act as a source of bacteria and allowing abscess formation within the tissue. Next is non-periodontitis related abscess. Firstly, it is caused by impaction of foreign body. This foreign body could be toothbrush bristle, dental floss, orthodontic elastic, or any food material which is impacted deep within the supporting periodontal tissue, leading to abscess formation. Now, if this impacted foreign material is an oral hygiene aid, this abscess is also known as oral hygiene abscess. Second is because of perforation caused during endodontic therapy. The burr entering through the root into the tissue will cause an abscess formation. Last is because of local anatomic factors such as external root resorption, cracked tooth, or cemental tear, which can lead to an abscess formation. This is the pathogenesis and histopathology of a periodontal abscess. Now, in both cases, that is periodontitis related abscess and non-periodontitis related abscess, it is evident that the bacteria is pushed or invaded inside the periodontal tissue, that is supporting periodontal tissue or deep periodontal pocket wall. Once the bacteria enters the tissue, there is inflammatory changes which is seen in the surrounding tissue, that is the blood vessels get increased and engorged and leads to the release of your immune cells, that is your PMN specially. These polymorphonuclear cells, they get attracted towards the bacteria by chemotaxis, and there is destruction of the bacteria which starts taking place because of phagocytosis and release of various enzymes. Now, these enzymes, they not only destroy the bacteria but also the tissue surrounding the bacteria, that is there is the loss of connective tissue which can be seen, or destruction of the connective tissue which can be seen. Later on, this all dead bacteria as well as the dead leukocytes, they are surrounded by fibrin, and this leads to encapsulation of the suppurative change which has taken place in the center. So this center consists of your soft tissue debris and destroyed leukocyte, and it is surrounded by alive leukocytes as well as a fibrin encapsulation. Now, because of this encapsulation or formation of pyogenic membrane, there is entrapment or localization of the pus, which leads to abscess formation. The epithelium also shows intracellular and extracellular edema, and there are presence of some leukocytes which are seen in the epithelium. Coming to the diagnosis of periodontal abscess, the diagnosis of periodontal abscess is a correlation between the history, clinical features and the radiographic features. In history, nature of pain is very important to differentiate between the chronic abscess and a acute abscess. Medical history to differentiate whether the patient is having abscess because of local factor or compromised immune system. Dental, past dental treatment, which includes past perio treatment or endo treatment. Again, perio treatment if in case you expect any calculus lodgement or any systemic antibiotics which is given. Endo because of any perforation which you can see. History of any previous abscesses or injury to the tissue, for example injury while brushing or while eating food, etc. So all this history is very important. Next, coming to the clinical examination, signs of inflammation have to be noted down. That is the color change, the swelling, etc. Then probing to evaluate the continuity of the lesion with the gingival margin. That is, you have to probe the lesion to check whether there is a deep pocket. If there is a deep pocket, how wide is the pocket? Because it is also possible that a periapical abscess is draining through the gingival margin. In this case, there will be a narrow pocket. Then pain on percussion, that is whether there is pain on vertical percussion or lateral percussion. Pulp vitality has to be checked. Suppuration on digital pressure, whether you can elicitate any pus coming out from the gingival margin. Mobility of the adjacent tooth and sinus tract, again to differentiate between chronic and acute abscess, and also the location of the sinus tract can differentiate between periapical and periodontal abscess. Next is the radiographic changes. A discrete area of radiolucency can be seen along the lateral aspect of the root. However, Since this is a soft tissue change, radiographic features will not be of much help. Also, if there is only a facial and lingual abscess, it is obscured by the radio-opaque tooth which is present in the center. Coming to the differential diagnosis for periodontal abscess, that is gingival abscess and periapical abscess. We've already discussed few of the difference between the periapical abscess and periodontal abscess, but we'll get into the detail of it. First is the nature of pain. The pain in the periapical abscess is sharp shooting or throbbing kinds, and that of a periodontal abscess is more dull and steady and continuous. The localization of pain, it is easy to localize a periodontal abscess because the pain is more localized, so the patient can pinpoint the tooth which is causing the pain. Whereas in case of periapical pain, the pain is more diffuse and the patient is not able to locate the tooth which is causing the pain. Vitality of the tooth associated. Usually the tooth having periodontal abscess is vital, and in case of periapical abscess, the tooth is for sure non-vital. Why I am using the term usually is because periodontal abscess, when in case of a secondary endodontic lesion, the vitality of the tooth can be lost. Pain on percussion is vertical in case of periapical, whereas it is more horizontal pain on percussion when it comes to periodontal abscess. Next is the pre-existing condition. What I mean by this is, in periapical lesion, the pre-existing disease is usually caries or a large restoration. In case of a periodontal, pre-existing condition is periodontitis, that is deep pockets which are present, loss of alveolar bone, etc. Location of swelling or sinus tract. As already mentioned, the sinus tract, if present in the apical area of the tooth, it is usually indicating a periapical abscess, whereas if it is along the root surface anywhere on the gingiva, it is indicative of a periodontal abscess. And last point, periodontal pocket. If it is a narrow, thin periodontal pocket, it indicates more towards a endodontic abscess, whereas a wide pocket indicates towards a periodontal abscess.
This shows the pre-existing condition along with the periodontal abscess and the periapical abscess. Periodontal has deep periodontal pocket, periapical has caries. In this, note down the location of the swelling. One is in the periapical area, other is along the root surface.
The last part of periodontal abscess is the treatment. The treatment takes place in two parts: resolving the acute lesion and management of the residual chronic condition. If you do not treat the chronic condition, there is a chance that there can be an acute exacerbation, and again you have an abscess formation. Now, the aim of your acute abscess treatment is elevation of pain or any other symptoms which are present, control of the spread of infection so that there is no further exacerbation, and establishment of drainage. The treatment option for periodontal abscess is drainage first. Drainage can be from two areas, either from the pocket or from the external incision. Now, whenever it is possible, we try to do the drainage from the periodontal pocket. The area is anesthetized nicely for the patient's comfort. It can be done by giving topical first and then local anesthesia. The tissue is gently retracted using a probe or a curette. Gentle digital pressure is placed on the pocket area and irrigation is done so that all the pus is removed and the pocket is completely clean. Now, if there is abscess is small and if there is access, one can perform scaling and root planing to remove the bacteria. However, if there is a large lesion, one should wait so that the major clinical changes which are there, they are subsided, and then one can go for scaling and root planing in the next appointment. Next is drainage through external incision. The abscess is dried and isolated. The area is well anesthetized and a vertical incision is given along the most fluctuant part. Once the incision is given by a 15 number blade, there is lateral separation of the tissue which is done using a curette or a periosteal elevator so as to allow all the access to the adjacent tissue, and removal of pus is helped by gentle digital pressure using a moist gauze. Mechanical instrumentation usually is delayed because if you are using external incision, that means the abscess would be usually big. In both the cases, once the drainage is established, the patient is given a moist gauze to approximate the wound and sent back home. He is advised to rinse with warm salt water every 2 hours. There is periodic application of chlorhexidine which is recommended, which can be either by rinsing or locally applied with a cotton tip applicator. Patient with systemic symptoms is advised rest and increased fluid intake. The patient is usually recalled after 24 hours and most of the times the signs and symptoms have subsided. If not, the patient is again recalled after 24 hours. After 24 hours, the patient can undergo non-surgical treatment for further removal of plaque and calculus. Analgesics are prescribed for the comfort of the patient.
This image shows the exudation of pus by digital pressure. This shows the incision given in the sulcus or pocket. Curette is used to clean the root surface.
Periodontal surgery is undertaken in case of chronic abscesses in which the non-surgical therapy is not enough to remove all the pathogenic plaque and calculus which is present, like in case of very deep periodontal pocket or tortuous pocket in which furcation is involved, etc. In such cases, a periodontal surgery is highly recommended.
Surgical therapy is done to gain access in the furcation area for removal of all the bacteria.
Next is the prescription of systemic antibiotics. Systemic antibiotics are not recommended in all the patients. It is given to patients with cellulitis, that is non-localized spreading infection, in case of deep inaccessible pocket before periodontal surgery is taken place, or in case if the patient has symptoms like fever, lymphadenopathy, or in immunocompromised patients, systemic antibiotics are given. However, if systemic antibiotics are given without any non-surgical therapy, that is scaling and root planing, it can lead to abscess formation, and therefore drainage is a must, and secondary to that, systemic antibiotics are prescribed. Recommended systemic antibiotics is amoxicillin or amoxicillin in combination with clavulanic acid. In case of penicillin allergy, clindamycin is given or erythromycin is given. Tooth removal. If the prognosis of the tooth is poor, one should immediately remove the tooth and relieve the symptoms of the patient. Next is gingival abscess. Gingival abscess is defined as localized purulent infection that involves the marginal gingiva or interdental papilla. The diagnosis of gingival abscess is uncomplicated as it is only confined to the marginal gingiva and the interdental papilla, and usually there is no disease which is present to the side. That means that periodontal abscess was seen usually with periodontitis, whereas gingival abscess is usually seen in a healthy side. The etiology for gingival abscess is impaction of food material or foreign body like toothbrush bristles, apple core or lobster shell, etc. The clinical features of gingival abscess are very similar to that of an acute inflammation. The color is red and the swelling has a smooth shiny surface which changes after 24 to 48 hours, and the swelling becomes more fluctuant and pointed with the surface orifice indicating towards pus accumulation. The tooth could be sensitive to percussion, and if not treated, the gingival abscess has a tendency to rupture spontaneously. Histopathological features is very similar to that of a periodontal abscess. Coming to the treatment of gingival abscess, again it is very similar to periodontal abscess. First step is the removal of cause. As I said earlier, it is because of impaction of some foreign material, and therefore once that is removed, one can absolutely be sure that the lesion will be resolved. Followed by that, scaling and root planing is done so that whatever bacterial source is present in that area, that is removed. In very few cases of gingival abscess, incision and drainage is recommended, which allows the proper removal of the cause, that is the foreign material. The area is irrigated and covered with a moist gauze. The patient is recommended again to use warm salt water every 2 hours and recalled after 24 hours. And in very large lesions, very rarely surgical access is required. Quickly differentiating between the gingival abscess and periodontal abscess. First is the location. Gingival abscess is usually confined to the marginal tissue, whereas in case of your periodontal abscess, it is seen in the supporting periodontal tissue. Gingival abscess is seen in healthy tissue, whereas periodontal abscess is seen in a previously diseased tissue, that is in case of periodontitis. Etiology, usually because of impaction of food material, a gingival abscess is caused, but periodontal abscess is caused because of occlusion of orifice of a pre-existing periodontal pocket, preventing the drainage of purulent material, leading to an abscess formation. Treatment of gingival abscess is removal of the cause and incision and drainage, whereas in case of periodontal abscess, incision and drainage is followed by a pocket elimination procedure. Last is pericoronal abscess. Pericoronal abscess is the purulent inflammation of the pericoronal tissue. That is, inflammation of your pericoronal tissue, which is also known as pericoronitis, and pericoronal abscess is a complication of pericoronitis. So whatever you write for pericoronitis, you can write for periodontal abscess, but in an acute phase. Etiology, there is a space which is created below the flap of the tissue which is covering the partially erupted tooth. This flap of tissue is also called as operculum. This space acts as an ideal area for accumulation of food debris and bacterial growth. Also, the tissue inflammation is exacerbated by the trauma caused because of an external factor, or because of occlusion, or because of a foreign body. Clinical feature, the tissue appears red, swollen, tender. There is radiating pain, trismus, that is inability to open the oral cavity, foul odor, taste, lymphadenitis, fever, malaise, swelling in the area of angle of jaw, etc. The main problem with pericoronal abscess is that there is a tendency of spread of infection either posteriorly to the oropharyngeal area or medially to the base of the tongue, leading to inability to swallow. Coming to the treatment of pericoronal abscess, it is divided again into treatment of acute phase and followed by treatment of chronic lesion. Anesthesia is given to the tissue so that the patient is absolutely comfortable. Drainage is established by lifting the operculum using either the probe or a curette. The area is irrigated so that whatever food particles and bacteria is accumulated under the operculum is completely flushed out. Antibiotics are recommended if there are systemic symptoms. Again, the patient is advised to rinse with salt water every 2 hours. Analgesics are prescribed if the patient is having discomfort, and patient is recalled after 24 hours so as to check whether the acute signs and symptoms have subsided. Once the acute phase is subsided, one has to choose a definitive treatment, that is operculectomy, to remove the tissue which is present over the partially erupted tooth or to extract the tooth.
That is it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, read and remember. Bye.